Afternoon, everybody.
Afternoon, mate.
Roy, how are you?
Start with Ian Bolton from Sky.
Sorry, Joe, one sec. Can you let Dom in, please, for Palace TV? Had to reboot.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
I can't see Ian here. Is he here? So I can't see him.
It's not. Dom's audience. So can we start with Ian?
Hi, Roy. Ian Bolton from Sky here. How are you?
I'm fine, thanks. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Very good. Are you in training today in the rain? What's the weather like in Beckenham? It's not much fun here in Hertfordshire, I can tell you.
It's drizzly. It wasn't really bad, but it was a great difference to yesterday.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure. All right, let's make a start if everyone else is okay. It's the first time we've had the opportunity to speak with you, Roy, since Liverpool were confirmed as champions. I hope you don't mind me asking you about it. To do it with 7 matches to spare, just how big an achievement is that?
It's a remarkable achievement, and I think they showed the other night in the game against us how well they deserved it. I thought their play was excellent in every respect. There was literally no chinks in the armour at all, and the quality of the play was exceptional, and that, of course, has brought them to the stage where they are. And I was pleased for Jurgen and the team and the club. I think it's a really deserved championship title this year for Liverpool Football Club, and they've waited so long and worked so hard along the way to get there that all I can do is, like all my fellow managers, congratulate them first of all, but also spend as many words of praise as it's possible to do on the achievement, because, as you rightly say, to do so with so many games left to play, it just goes to show what a juggernaut they've been this year in the league, where they've really rolled over everybody in such a dominant fashion.
Jurgen Klopp says winning the Premier League isn't the final destination for Liverpool. Do you sense it is a new era for the club, and how big a challenge is that for the rest of the Premier League?
Well, I think the era has been established for at least 2, possibly even 3 years, really. I mean, it didn't take Jurgen long to stamp his mark on the club and to move them very clearly in the right direction. And, of course, their recruitment during the last couple of years has also been excellent, as well as the production of young talent of their own, not least of all Alexander-Arnold. So the club's in a really, really good position. And I would be surprised if they weren't looking now to try to produce a new dynasty. But it won't be easy. I'm not saying it was easy for the teams of the past either, but we do know now that there are at least several other teams in the Premier League who've got the potential to invest strongly in their teams. And also teams like Man City, still in particular, who are playing so very, very well that, those two have this year once again stood out. And in particular, the team that stood out has been Liverpool, because they've won the league by such a large margin.
Let's talk about Crystal Palace. Your last match was at Liverpool. Wilf Zaha started but had to come off after a quarter of an hour. How is he? The plan was, I think, to have a scan. How did that go? Is he going to be okay for Monday for you?
Well, we don't know that yet. I mean, we've still got 2 days, and he was having treatment this morning, of course, so he didn't take part in the training session. But we're still hopeful that these next couple of days will see him recover from the minor injury that he suffered in the warm-up. And we're leaving the door open, of course, because we really like him to play.
How important is it that he does play for you?
Well, we're very weak at the moment, unfortunately, in the forward positions. And I mean, the team we played against, Bournemouth, where both he and Benteke, alongside Jordan Ayew, played so well, I thought, and gave us such a threat. When suddenly 2 of those players are missing from the starting lineup, it makes a difference. And very few teams can take 2 players of that quality out of their starting lineup and be as good. But we're not writing off yet the chances of those 2 taking part in the game, and certainly other players that didn't play in the game, Milivojevic and Guaita, look like they're going to be fit enough to play. So we should be a bit stronger than we were on Wednesday night. But quite frankly, it wasn't a question of our particular weakness on Wednesday night. It was more a question of Liverpool's incredible desire to win that game and to sign off their title in such a spectacular way.
So, just to clarify, what are the chances then of Christian Benteke and Vicente Guaita playing? How would you rate their chances?
I rate his chances very highly, and when it comes to Wilf and Christian Benteke, we'll still have to wait and see what the next 2 days bring.
Listen, is there any more positive news on players that will be available?
No, we've got three injuries which have been long-term and continue to be long-term. That's Jeffrey Schlupp, James Tompkins and Martin Kelly, 3 first-team players. And there's no chance of them being fit for the game on Monday. So really it was a question of the sort of squad that we had at Bournemouth, how many of those will recover and how close our squad will look like the squad that we took to Bournemouth.
Look, 7 matches still to play. 4 of those matches are at Selhurst Park, and I know you've played at Bournemouth and you've played at Liverpool behind closed doors. But how strange is it going to be with a silent Selhurst Park, given the atmosphere that is generated by the crowd there?
Yes, we'll miss that. There's no doubt about it, and I think the fans will miss being there, of course. And you know, one of the things that one hopes for with our club is that the support is a very loyal support and a very fervent support. So the one thing we do know is that even though they aren't there physically, we know they're there in spirit. We know that their thoughts and prayers and hopes and desire to push us on to victory will be there from wherever they're watching and whatever medium they're watching the game on. So we feel their presence and we welcome that, but it's going to be very, very different, like it is for everybody. I don't know that there's so much more one can say. No one has ever said that playing behind closed doors is the best way of finishing a football season, but it turned out to be the best way for us to finish this football season because the alternatives were so dire, i.e. don't finish it at all.
Look, what have you made of Burnley since the restart? They lost heavily at Manchester City, but then came back and beat Watford.
Well, they're a good team, and you know, Sean over the years there, that's been a very good partnership he's had with the club, and they've really done exceptionally well every year. You know, Burnley are a team that are always looking to be in the top 10. Even got into Europe not so long ago, so he's done an incredible job. And whatever the recent results, whether they'd have been particularly good or particularly bad, it doesn't alter my image and my thoughts about Burnley under Sean Dyche. I think they're a very good team, a very well-organised team. They know their game inside out. And whoever they play against, whenever they play, they are a very tough nut to crack. So we're expecting the usual tough game that Burnley provide us with.
We talk about Burnley looking to get into the top 10. Is this a real opportunity for Crystal Palace to secure a top 10 finish for the end of the season? If you win on Monday, you'll go above Arsenal, you'll go above Sheffield United, you'll be level on points with Spurs.
Oh, the opportunity is undoubtedly there, and we're very much aware of it. I think a lot will depend upon injuries. You know, this year has not been a good injury year for us. We had a very bad spell in the middle of the season where we lost a large number of key players. We survived it, but we really don't want another period like that going into the end of the season, because I think our hopes of finishing the season as well as we would like depend upon at least having the squad that we have at the moment fit and ready to play. If that happens, especially if we're lucky enough to recover any of the 3 long-term injured players, then I still think we have an excellent chance of reaching that goal. It's certainly one we have in mind, and it's certainly one we would like to reach.
What other chances do you think of at least one of those 3 players being able to play a part between now and the end of the season?
Yeah, it's not high percentage-wise, I don't think, but because they've been out already quite a long time, so even if in 2 weeks' time they got back into some sort of training, whether that will get them back to the match fitness they'd require to play the last games, will be a question mark. But it's not something that we've written off, and the hope is there, and certainly the desire from the players is there, which is also very, very important, because in all injury situations, you're dependent on the desire of the player. If the player really wants to get back and is desperate to do so, sometimes they manage to shorten that period of injury time that everyone's predicted for them.
Roy, thank you. Listen, we wish you well.
Thank you very much.
Nice to speak with you.
So,
Thank you, and I'll go to Adam at PLP.
Hi, Roy. Nice to see you. Obviously, with the changes of the rules and the injuries and things like that, it gives an opportunity for a lot of the younger players. What's your message to them at this time of the season?
I don't know, really. I don't know what message there is to give them other than the message you give to all your young players at the club, that you try to give them the inspiration to work hard at their game, and to believe that if I work hard at my game and I continue to improve and I continue to learn, that I'll do well enough to break into the first team squad, and then hopefully not one of the first teamers off his perch. I don't know, you could say so much more than that. I think it's a mistake to be promising things. We want to finish as high as we can. To do that, we're going to have to field the strongest possible teams that we can. There's no question of throwing total caution to the wind and saying because we're safe, we're now going to just blood young players. That isn't what it's about. The Premier League is too important for that. Every point is too important for that. Every game is too important for that. But we've had a lot more younger players in our first team group over these last 6 weeks, I guess it is now, 5 or 6 weeks, and we've enjoyed working with them, and they've certainly given me the impression that they enjoy being with us.
How important is it then for you to finish the season well, to make sure you've got momentum going into next season, which won't be far off, of course?
Well, I think the season we've had so far and what we've done will give us some momentum, whatever happens in the final games, because we've overcome some very, very difficult odds, especially with the injury crises, because there's been now 2 of them. And we've also seen the team play some very good football. But the goal is obviously to try and maintain this good level of football that we've played, and to make certain that we can try and establish ourselves really as a top 10 team. That's a good challenge, a nice carrot to have in front of you, and that's what we'll be working towards.
Because you've got 5 of the top 7 to play in your last 7 games, haven't you? So it's a nice test for you.
Yeah, but I mean, that's the thing. I'm always a little bit amused about, Grace, because I mean, when you start the season, you're going to play 38 games, 19 home, 19 away, and there's going to be some teams you play that are going to be above you and some below you. And I don't really ever know what the answer to those sort of questions is. You've got a tough program or a so-called easy program. It seems to me all you can do as a football coach is to try and prepare the game that's in front of you and try and give your team the best chance of winning that game. And as soon as the game's over, turn your attention to the next one. I don't know really what one can do other than that. But if anyone's got any good suggestions to me, I'm all ears.
Thanks, Roy. All the best.
Pleasure, thanks.
Hi, Roy. Can you hear me now?
I can, yep.
Yeah, Andy from BBC. I was at Anfield on Wednesday watching you, and I had a glance at the programme, and your squad is probably about 2/3 as big as Liverpool's and many others in the Premier League. Does that put even more stress when you have injuries to the players like Wilf and Guaita, as you had on Wednesday?
Yes, of course it does. And the squad wasn't that bad in the beginning of the season, and we strengthened in January by signing Cenk Tosun, which was going to improve our attacking options and gave us the opportunity, we thought, to let Conor Wickham go on loan because it's such a long time since he had regular football. And then suddenly we find ourselves desperately missing those 2 players because we don't have enough front players in our contingent. And then, of course, to lose two defenders like Tompkins and Kelly at the same time, it puts a lot of pressure on a particular area of your squad. But we know what we have to do to get through that, and we are going to be, to some extent, on a wing and a prayer, trying to keep the players that we have and that we know are more than good enough to see us through these last games fit. We haven't been that lucky right at the very start here, but hopefully we'll get at least 2 of those players back, or maybe 3, and that will hopefully give us the number we will need to see us through this last period of the Premier League.
As you say, it's been unfortunate at times. You've had to make so many changes, even at the back where you have got such good players that you can bring in even when you've got injuries. But your defensive record, is better than Chelsea's, Tottenham's, Arsenal's in terms of goals conceded. You must be so proud of how the players have all come together to keep that sort of record going.
I'm always very proud of the way that the players work so hard to deny the opposition time and space, whoever we play and whatever system we play. I've always been very satisfied with the work ethic of the players and their understanding of their duties as well, which is very, very important. Obviously, we don't lose heavily that often. It's happened to us twice this year. We ran into a Tottenham side early on who came out of the traps roaring and scored a couple of early goals and went on to score 4. And, of course, the same happened the other night. And 2 of those goals, of course, were the type of goals that, unfortunately, are not such a lot to do with your defensive organisation. They're just those wonder strikes that sometimes go in and more often than not don't. But our ability to defend and our ability to keep a clean sheet or make it hard, at least for the opponents to score, is going to be vital for us in these final 7 games, because we are always going to be a little bit short of firepower, quite simply because of the players that we've lost to injury or no longer have with us.
You mentioned, of course, that Burnley have been a tough nut to crack for so many teams. I think only Liverpool have had more clean sheets this season, but somehow over the last 4 times you've met them, you have had the wherewithal to get the wins. You've won your last 4 against them, so you must have some secret.
No, we don't. I'm afraid I put that in the same historical context as before the game against Liverpool. People kept telling me how good Crystal Palace's record was at Anfield. And I did make the point then, that historical records are of very little interest to me. It's only the future that matters, sometimes the present day when you find yourself playing the game. So, yes, we've been lucky over the last couple of seasons against Burnley, but that doesn't mean to say we'll continue to be lucky. We have to produce the same level of performances and hope things go our way.
And just finally from me, Roy, 42 points. You're in line potentially for the best ever season since the Premier League started, at least for Crystal Palace in the top flight. Are you confident that the players can keep going to deliver what they've the platform that they've created? Yes,
I'm confident that we'll keep going, and I'm confident that whoever I play will be out there, doing a good job and really, putting his heart and soul into the game and his body on the line to get us the results. I'm very confident of that. The one thing I'm not confident, of course, is that we can get enough players fit to give us that real fighting chance we need, because as you started by saying, the contingent has been made a lot smaller through injury, and we really can't afford to have it shortened that much more, because that's going to put too much pressure perhaps on the 11 or 12 players who will have to play every game. And we all know that at the moment it's very, very tough with 3 games a week to ask players to play 95 minutes 3 times in a row.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Good luck.
Thank you. Okay, that's the end of the broadcast section. If I can ask the broadcasters to now leave.